pocket square today.
I do. We've got a female guest, man, and I thought it was important that I dress up
That
a little
you wear
bit.
a pocket square?
I always wear a pocket square, don't I? Kind of my thing.
Kind of your thing, but because we had a female guest, well, we're going to have a female guest today. You're wearing a pocket square.
Part of it, and a sport coat.
Still, I've known you for a long time. I'm still trying to pick up your peccadillos. Hey, welcome to the Beat LA podcast. My name is Matt Ferrucci. I'm a writer-director in Los Angeles, and I am joined, as always, by a man who has actually punched me in the face when I've missed my own personal field goals, Mr. Paul Rule. Paul, how you doing?
Good, Matt. I know what you're talking about, the 49er game yesterday. I've never punched you in the face, Matt. I've wanted to punch you in the face, but I've never done it.
Yeah, Mary Fuck Kill, directing on set.
I'm kind of a pacifist. When I was in grade school, this guy, I still remember his name, was Steve McDonald. Steve McDonald punched me in the face on the playground.
Yeah.
And I just looked at him, I'm like, you just punched me in the face.
Yeah.
And I didn't hit him back.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
What grade was this?
I don't know, like fifth grade maybe. I had two older brothers, and I learned that basically if you get hit, you go into a fetal position and you just wait for it to stop.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I remember
I'm kind of a pussy.
My last big fight was in 8th grade, and I was student body president at Star of the Sea Academy.
Look at you.
And
did you have a campaign like "Don't be a douchey, vote for Ferrucci"?
Yeah, exactly. But my dad had donated a bunch of money to the school.
Oh, okay.
So I got in a fight with this kid, Justin Johnson. It was like 3 o'clock high, and everyone came around us.
It's like an anchor man.
Yeah, and like one swing, boom, I got him to the ground. I was beating him up, and the principal, Sister Rosemary, came over. I went to the principal office, and they sat me down, and they said, Matt, they asked me first, Matt, what happened? And I said, it was his fault. I didn't do anything. And she said, you could go. And Justin got in trouble.
It's incredible.
And that's when I realized that money can buy you justice.
It fixes everything. That's why I've never punched you. See, you kicked my ass.
I don't know about that.
And then you get away with it.
You could probably out-litigate me, to be honest with you.
It's possible.
Welcome, folks, to the Beat LA podcast. We have a great show for you today. Before we get to that, you can watch us on YouTube, follow and subscribe, Beat LA account. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok. You can also subscribe, comment, rate, review the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Paul, great episode. We're going to be interviewing your friend, wonderful woman, Samantha Gutstadt, who's a influencer, content creator, actress, writer, entrepreneur, just super successful and inspiring.
And a great tennis player.
Great tennis player. And I definitely learned a lot about, content creation and sort of selling yourself as a brand.
Right.
If that's something you're into and you're listening to this, even if you haven't admitted that to people, but you're like, I could be your brand. How do I do this? You're going to want to check out that interview.
So I remember telling you this, Matt. We may end up cutting this. My first viral moment, where I thought that maybe I could make it in front of the camera, I was ball boying for the Transamerica Open in San Francisco. John McEnroe was playing, and they asked me, what do you think about McEnroe? He's like, I think it's funny when he gets mad and stuff. And I was on TV saying that, and I got phone calls back. People had phone calls, like phones and stuff. And I was like a little mini celebrity because I had made this comment about John McEnroe. I think I was like 8 or something.
And you were was it on the news?
It was on Evening Magazine or PM Magazine or whatever that thing was.
Evening Magazine. Yeah. I used to love that show.
With Rita Channon.
Oh, God. I don't remember the host, but I remember the show.
I dated her daughter, by the way.
You did,
Brooke Channon.
Yeah, we're going to keep this in, okay? No cutting.
I wish I had the clip.
No cutting at all. It wasn't a viral moment. I remember when the Harlem Globetrotters were big and famous. Geese Osby, Curly Neal, they were on Scooby-Doo.
I loved it. Meadowlark Lemon.
They played at a USF. And the ball went out of bounds. And I was under the basket, and I was like 6 or 7, and I got the ball. And Geese Osby, Hall of Famer, he's like, bring the ball out, kid. And so I ran out to half court with the ball, and I gave it to him, and I looked at him, and then he kind of hit me in the face. And he's like, get off the court. And then I ran off the court just like,
Your 15 minutes of fame.
15 minutes of fame. Yeah. All right, folks, Beat LA podcast. We're going to start off. Let's spin the proverbial wheel.
Tavares, right in the butt.
What?
No.
And we're landing on the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, we have to.
Pull out a squeaker. And I might get a little bit dirty here, Paul, and we may cut this, but they pulled out before the 49ers got pregnant with a 4-5 record.
We went full on 2010 NLCS. You and Aaron White and I got together to watch this game. We knew how important this game was, so we got the mojo of that 2010 NLCS, and I think we helped them pull it out. so to speak.
Sure.
But boy, that was an ugly game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an ugly game. Those 4 penalties in a row in that last drive by Tampa Bay.
Yep.
George Kittle said he didn't watch the last field goal, that he actually been watching the field goals, and he's superstitious.
Yeah.
And that's why he thought that Moody was missing. Do you have any weird superstitions, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, when I played baseball, baseball's built around superstitions, you know? I mean, when I watch games, I'm like Robert De Niro in Silver Linings Playbook. I remember I wouldn't wash my socks if I was on a hit streak, stuff like that. How about you? Superstitions?
Yeah. When I played tennis, I used to always do the same routine where I would pick at my strings a certain number of times before the next point.
Interesting.
That. And not wearing any underwear.
It was an ugly win, obviously.
Commando. Remember the guy on social media who freaked out about the Belichick thing with us? And we were talking about Belichick not wearing pants, and this guy's like, bro, that's Commando.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, he wasn't wearing any pants, not he wasn't wearing any underwear. So our audience needs to know what Commando is.
Yeah, Commando is when you wear pants and no underwear.
And no underwear.
But this Yahoo was coming after us when we posted the Bill Belichick dating a 24-year-old mermaid and said we had it all wrong. When it's clearly Winnie the Poohing and Donald Ducking.
Donald Ducking.
So
what do you think about our team, Matt? We got Seattle this coming week. They're a 6.5-point favorite, I think. Are we worried, or do we think that they maybe? I think this punch. I think that Tabor Pepper. You ever heard a guy have more of a long snapper name than Tabor Pepper?
Well, let's before we get into the Seahawks, let's discuss.
We've all wanted to punch the long snapper.
But let's get into this. I think it was great for the team.
Right.
I think it was actually a great look. I know, like Tim Kawakami was on Twitter saying that's not a good look. But then Jerry Rice came out earlier this year and said, if we weren't playing well in the 80s, we were fighting each other on the sideline. And Deebo afterwards he said, I got in Moody's face and I told him to lock in, and Tabor was just being a big bro. And I'm sure they kissed and made up. But I think it was great for us. Like, how they say, like in baseball, sometimes you need a brawl,
right,
to get things going.
Right.
I think that was a great thing that happened, Paul.
Right, like throw me out of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. They actually showed some passion. Clearly the team still cares.
Cares, man. But I don't think we played bad. I mean, I know we played poorly. The offense was okay. Kyle, in spite of visiting his side chick in Tampa Bay, coached okay. I thought he made the right calls. We made a few plays. This is just what we are.
By the way, if you don't make your field goal kicker kick 6 field goal attempts, maybe score occasional touchdown, you don't have to worry about it. But I have this theory, Matt. So apparently they don't play well when it's hot. Remember that really hot game in Santa Clara where they melted down at the end against Arizona?
Yeah, sure.
And it was really hot in Florida. Maybe they're going to be great in Green Bay and in Buffalo, where it's going to be fucking cold.
Yeah.
And Shanahan's side piece won't go there because she doesn't like cold weather.
Got it. But one of our side pieces, Beat LA financial analyst Steve Groschel,
Wait a minute,
is going to Buffalo.
I know he is.
Yeah.
You were going to go. Are you going?
I'm not going. There's no way.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to Buffalo.
All right.
Like you were saying, we're a 6.5-point favorite. The over-under is 49.5.
I saw that.
That's fucking bananas against Seattle this Sunday. Paulie, how do you see this game?
You know me, I like to go neg. How do I see this game? I think they're going to lose. I have to do my neg. And this is why, man. I think they're looking ahead to this road trip against these two teams, against Green Bay and Detroit. I think they've had Seattle's number. Eventually that has to change.
Yeah.
DK Metcalf's coming back.
Yeah.
I don't know. They just seem like such a flawed team to me. But I could be wrong. Look, McCaffrey's going to be maybe another week healthier, or maybe because Kyle made him play every fucking snap. I think he had 6 snaps he took off the whole game after coming off coming off Achilles. Maybe he's not even walking today. Maybe he's not playing this week.
So give it to me. You always make me do this. What's the score?
I think they're losing. I'm going to do a weird number. I'm going to say they're losing 26-23, just below the 49.5. 26 23. You are a slave to the over-under, my friend. Look, I feel like I have to go neg on this one. The team needs the neg.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to be the voice of reason here, especially in the political landscape that we're in right now. You need a voice of reason here. You over there across from me sound like some one of those candidates that you're shooting from the hip. Okay, all right. And so I'm going to say the Niners. We're scoring. We're on a hot streak. These are two teams going in opposite directions. They're going to come back home. I think. Oddly, I feel like we're clicking. If we can clean up the penalties, we can definitely beat Seattle at home.
Seattle's coming off a bye.
It's true they're coming off a bye, but they got some real issues on that team. The 49ers, I think they're going to get hot, like you're saying, the way they play in the second half. I predicted we were going to win last week. I'm going to predict that we're going to win this week. The same thing. I think we hit our 30-point marker here. I think Geno Smith melts down a little bit, and I think we win. Same score as I predicted last week. Niners win 30-17.
You're just going to keep going with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
That would be great. I mean, Juwan Jennings, by the way, I think he was player of the game yesterday.
Absolutely, Paul.
He is a man, a big-time man. When he recovered Purdy's fumble that would have lost the game, and that when he decided to stay in bounds at the end there and didn't actually get in real field goal range for Moody.
Yeah.
If Moody had missed that field goal, he would have had to be institutionalized. Like he wasn't going to make it. He was full-on Scott Norwood, Ace Ventura, pet detective.
If he had held the ball laces out like you're supposed to, Ray would never have missed that kick. Dan Marino should die of gonorrhea and rot in hell.
All right, let's go to the Golden State Warriors here. Folks, the Warriors starting off 8-2, 4-1 on their last road trip. They beat the Boston Celtics. They went into Oklahoma City last night, and they beat OKC Thunder. I know they lost Chet Holmgren, and I know
to a pelvic fracture.
Pelvic fracture, yeah.
Not to be confused with Steph Curry's penis peroneal thing.
Peroneal thing, yes. Yeah.
Pelvic fracture is very painful. He's also a very large man.
He is.
Chet Holmgren.
Chet Holmgren. Listen, 8-2. How are we feeling about this team? I mean, I'm actually scared to believe. You know what I mean? Is this a fool's gold here?
I don't know. And then we'll be dropping this after, but Clay's coming back on Tuesday. We're recording this on Monday.
Yeah.
I think they look for real. DeAnthony Melton, who'd been hurt, suddenly he's in the starting rotation and played great.
Billy Great, yeah.
And I think they're for real. I mean, they beat Boston and Oklahoma City on the road. They got smoked by Cleveland, but Cleveland's good.
Well, Cleveland's their 10-0.
Kevin Atkinson, whatever
Kenny Atkinson, ex-Warriors coach.
Yeah, they play like the Warriors did circa like 2015.
Yeah, I don't know how long this can last. And I know you like to get inside the numbers, but I think a lot of the reason why the Warriors are playing so well, we're playing a 12, 13-man rotation, which is unheard of in the league. But because of that, nobody's playing more than 27 minutes outside of Curry and Draymond, so our defense can swarm constantly.
How long, though, until Kuminga has a meltdown? This is his contract year.
He played great last night.
No, I know, but he's not getting enough minutes to get the money he wants at the end of the season.
Well, he's showing maturity, and I think that's what's going to get him the big deal. I don't think he's going to have a meltdown. I don't think Steph Curry will allow that.
Did you see Draymond do get the tech for the flop last night?
What was that called, Nick?
We have a unsportsmanlike flail by Green for a dead ball technical foul.
Unsportsmanlike flailing. Yes.
I feel like I've done that on the podcast a few times.
You have.
But I didn't know what I was going to say next.
Yeah. It's an internal thing for you. Inside, you're flailing.
It's amazing. Nick is, by the way, we should just give Nick a little shout out here. Nick came into the pod today, put with his producer hat on, and he's like, make sure you guys talk about these three things. And that was one of them.
And you know what's one of them that we forgot was, hey, Nick Bosa, just pull Baker Mayfield down.
I mean, one arm.
It's one of the best plays I've seen all year.
That's one of the best plays I've ever seen a quarterback make.
What are you dancing the cha-cha with?
No, they were boogieing. That was like Son of a Woman or something like that. He was like,
I thought I was watching Dancing with the Stars. Yeah. Just hold on to his arm and fall the fuck down.
It was crazy.
Pull the motherfucker down.
Pull the motherfucker down.
I want you to go in that bag and find my wallet.
Which one is it?
It's the one that says bad motherfucker.
All right, so that's the Warriors. That's the 49ers.
Right.
All right, and right now we're going to get to our Slam Bam interview with content creator, entrepreneur, influencer, Samantha Gutstadt. All right, we're back, Beat LA heads. And Paul, we have a very special guest today. We always say that, but I think this time we really mean it, okay?
We really mean it this time. We'll explain why.
I like saying, this is the first time I've ever said this, she is a true entrepreneur.
Yes.
She's a content creator, founder, true crime podcaster, writer, and actress, creating comedic scripted content for brands like Walmart, Target, Romper, Sephora, just to name a few. She's been a columnist for Parents Magazine and Bustle. She's the co-founder of the content studio Don't Call Me Mommy. And if that is not enough, she was a top tennis player on the Canadian junior national team. She literally does it all. Samantha Gutstadt, hello.
Can I bring you guys with me everywhere?
Don't you want to take Matt to cocktail parties with you?
Can you just intro me at like new preschool events?
That's what that Paul's always said. He just wants me to walk into a room in front of him.
Right?
Yeah.
Good. She's a very special guest for a lot of reasons. One, we're good old friends at this point. Two, I don't know what this says about us. You are our first female guest.
I am.
What?
I am honored, guys.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Wow.
I just
Forging
assumed.
You've been here
roads.
for a year with me?
Yeah, I've been in a bit of a fog.
Yeah.
Oh, welcome.
Yeah. Congratulations. We served you basically what looks like a specimen of espresso.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be here, and it's like I haven't seen this guy in so long.
Well,
When you're not beating me at tennis,
that's what I found
Yeah.
out, that you beat him, which made me happy, playing tennis. Can I say while you were pregnant, too?
I can't believe I played tennis pregnant.
Yeah, you played great.
So the tennis career, Toronto, it started in Canada?
Yes.
The sights on going and winning Wimbledon back
You
then?
know, I had a very encouraging dad. He was like, I used to love Jennifer Capriati. I grew up playing tennis at Harry Hopman's in Florida.
Okay.
I have two older brothers. One was like a top Canadian player. I'm a couple years younger.
On the Princeton tennis team, I think.
Princeton tennis team.
Okay.
And
Along with me and Lyle Menendez.
does it get any better?
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
It all ties in with my true crime roots. So I just always idolized my brother. I wanted to play. And so I was in dance and tennis. And at like 10, I think I decided like I'm going to go full force on tennis. And playing in Canada, it was a super small tennis community. It wasn't like playing in California or Florida or Texas or anywhere in the States. I would go to Florida in the winter to train
Like
because
the
it was like
voluntary type of place?
Yeah.
Okay.
And at 12, sort of like made the national team. And I wasn't naturally good at tennis, but I loved it so much that I was like smaller than all the girls. And and I feel like at 12, I just suddenly like became a top 5 player in my province and started to play nationals.
Yeah.
And I, one year, got to play like this international circuit when Kornikova, remember her?
Yes, of course.
Was kind of like
Sure we do.
a phenom, like it was up and coming, and Venus and Serena, where everyone was like buzzing about them, but they weren't playing tournaments. And I got to play the Orange Bowl and represent Canada there. And that was like this amazing aha moment of, could I be on the tour? The answer was no. But it was taking me on the route to maybe play D1, and I started coaching. So tennis has always been like a through line for me. All my first friends when I came to LA actually were in the tennis community because I used to play with actors and writers who would come shoot in Toronto. I was always like the person they would set up. Like when Jason Isaacs, do you remember Jason Isaacs?
Oh, of course, yeah.
He came to shoot something in Toronto, and I hit with him for probably like the whole duration of this shoot.
Yeah.
So when I was coming out to LA many years later, he was one of my first friends, and he connected me with a comedian, Kirk Fox, who was in the tennis world. Matthew Perry was someone that they played with. So I had all these like entertainment tennis friends, which was like a great landing spot.
That's probably a better thing instead of like becoming the 78th ranked player going on all these tournaments. You're using tennis as this thing to meet. By the way, I have a Kornikova story, but I'll tell you later. It's not that great.
She was so cute, by the way.
I ran into her at
She
Barney's.
never won anything.
No, she looked like Barbie.
Yeah.
But arguably maybe
She
the
was.
most successful, and she's still married to Julio Iglesias' son,
Enrique.
Yeah.
Enrique.
So I was a baseball player, and there was a moment I had some D1 offers, and then there was just this moment where I kind of burned out, where I was like at the state championship, and the players were just a little bit better, and I'm like, do I love this? What was the moment where you were like,
oh my God, I can relate. So I was, my older brother had played at Princeton. The coach there had been keeping an eye on me as well to maybe like, if my grades were good enough to maybe play there. And, I'd been playing, I was that kid that played like every tournament 7 days a week. And at 17 and a half, I went to my dad and I was like, you know what? I think I'm done.
Yeah.
And I think he was like, oh my God, what?
like devastated? Yeah.
I was getting like offers of full rides to amazing
I think
schools.
I'm going to go be an actress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I could do theater and tennis. And he was like, no, you can. You could definitely do both.
Sure.
And I sort of made that hard decision. I was burnt out though.
Yeah, burnt out.
At like 16 and a half, 17, I remember wanting to be a regular high school kid. I was doing this program. I was like half a day in school and then training, and I was traveling a ton for tournaments.
Right.
I like had my first boyfriend who happened to be an athlete too.
Right.
But I wanted to be a normal high school kid. I wanted to I was very heavily like starting to audition and wanted to do theater. And so that was my moment. But then a year later, I started teaching because I realized I could make like 3 times the amount of money than working at a coffee shop.
Sure.
And I think my dad was like, what the actual?
Yeah, like I remember my dad was like, tried to like bribe me. He's like, if you play D1, I'll get you a Mustang. And I was like, that's not enough.
A Mustang.
Yeah. So
I couldn't play D1. I tried, but I burned out too. I broke a lot of tennis rackets, and I remember I went to my parents and I was like, I'm quitting. They're like, that's fine.
Yeah.
You're not that good anyway. Keep your grades up. That's basically what they said. So there you go.
So then after that,
Which helps explain why Samantha beat me while she was pregnant.
you came out here,
Came out
actress,
here.
writer.
Yeah.
You pursued that dream.
Yeah. I went to college in Canada, actually. I always call it Canada's NYU because no one knows the name of schools in Canada. Everyone's like, where did you go to college? I'm like, I could literally make up any name of any school and you guys would be like,
What's it called? What's it called?
Ryerson, but they've since
Oh,
changed the
Ryerson.
name.
You know Ryerson, right?
Isn't it the guy from Groundhog Day?
Ned! Ryerson! Needle-nosed Ned the head? Come on, buddy. Case Western High.
They've now changed the name of my school because apparently Ryerson was not a great man.
What's their mascot? Do they have a mascot?
I don't even
Fight
know.
song?
I mean.
Gotcha.
So I graduated from there. I did 2 more years of school. I got married within that time. I met my now ex-husband
Okay.
in 3rd year college. Got married when I was like 24. I
Yeah.
did a postgraduate degree as a writer. But during all this time, I was auditioning and working as an actor in Toronto. Toronto's such a small, the way it was small in the tennis world, it's like so small in the entertainment world. I was in theater, I did voiceover, I was in commercials, I did movies, I did TV, and you could do all of it. And there was like 3 girls that looked like me. So I was in the audition room with like 3 brunettes with light eyes, and we all knew each other, and it was like very friendly competition, which by the way will lend me to my first LA story.
Okay.
Because we'd see each other in the room and be like, Kate and Lindsay,
Yeah.
I hope one of us get it because one of us are, because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
us here.
Right.
And we would help each other with auditions, and it was always down to the 4 of us
Right.
for all these roles.
Right.
Degrassi. You were probably auditioning.
I was on Degrassi.
Yeah.
There you go. See.
So
That's one Canadian
cut
show I know.
to
Right.
come out here, and I'm in a room for my first audition with like now 30 girls who kind of look like
Exactly.
me.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
I'm looking around the room and I'm like making eye contact and smiling, and they're all like looking away and like hate me.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's going on? Am I this like weird like
It's a sport now.
Canadian girl?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that was my first.
I always ask the Tanya Harding question. You could have taken those 2 other girls out in Canada
could've.
easily.
Yeah.
With
Yeah, you always get so violent with everything. Yeah.
I just think if there are only 2 other people in your way, it's easy to get rid of at least one of them. 30 is too many.
Then who would I self-tape with? Like, this is how friendly we were. Like, out here, one of the
probably
girls,
still friends with
Lindsay.
them.
I'm still friends with them.
Yeah.
One of them, it was like a big Special K campaign. Remember Special K?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was to be like the girl. It was going to be like this big campaign. And me and her self-taped from here, and we reversed the roles, and we're helping each other. And then I got the callback. Guess who helped me self-tape my callback?
Wow.
Lindsay.
Look how generous. Canadians are so generous. Okay, we want to get to the good stuff.
Yeah, so we
Of
want
what
to hear,
you're-
because we're very inspired. I think our audience will be very inspired about how you made this transition to basically taking over the internet.
Oh.
You and Al Gore. He started the internet, and then you took over the internet.
Yes.
I was actually just watching the Martha Stewart documentary last night, and they coin her as the first influencer, and I didn't realize that like she really was the first person to become a brand. And when we talk about being an influencer, that's essentially like you are the brand.
Right.
As I was watching this, I was like, wow, was Martha Stewart the OG influencer?
I think so.
I think so. Yes. I came out here and I had my, eye set on, I wanted to be a traditional actress. That's what I was doing in Toronto. And I was a working actress. I was making a living, which was a lot to be said for that. And I came out here and I had a manager. I was with a management company that did all the Saw movies. So right away I was put into thrillers.
Okay.
And I would like go to Council Bluffs, Idaho and die on page 7, a violent death. And would maybe like film for a week. And I did like some movies. I think one of my movies won like a Razzie. I'm very proud.
Ooh, that's amazing. I
Look
love
up
that.
Shark City, guys.
Yeah.
You should have brought your Razzie with you.
I was in Corey Haim's last movie. I mean, I had like a string of,
Sure.
But I wasn't getting to do comedy, which is what I really loved. I was in UCB out here. I'd done Second City. In commercials, I was getting a chance to do comedy, which was great.
Right.
But in TV and film, I was the villain. I was playing a lot of like evil characters. As I said, I was dying on page 7. And I also learned never tell anyone you're in something until you actually see if you made it in
Matt knows all about
the
this.
final cut.
Yes, I've been cut out of many things, and it's just horrible.
I mean.
Yeah.
And so I was doing an acting workshop. I used to take this amazing workshop with this guy, Howie Gold. And a lot of showrunners would come through, or film directors. I feel like Shane Black was a part of it.
Okay.
And this casting director came in, and she's like, guys, we're starting to cast some of our projects off of like YouTubers and YouTube. And something went off in my head at the time. I was like freelancing at Nylon Magazine. I was guest writing on blogs. I was doing a bunch of stuff, red carpet hosting, just to like work, and still auditioning traditionally. And I had a really young like intern at Nylon, because I was working there pretty full time at the time. And I was like, can we meet at Soho House for coffee? And I want to pick your brain about like...
That's where we met, just the audience.
That's where we met. Yeah. Very Hollywood.
I was very innocent. I was just looking for somebody to play tennis with.
And I said to him, I'm like, how do I take my 300-person private Instagram and how do I become like an influencer and like make my own stuff? And he's like, well, I kind of have a formula because I just did an Instagram account for a movie.
What year was this?
It would have been 2015.
Okay.
And throughout this time, I'd been like doing stuff on Funny or Die and making YouTube shorts, but I hadn't quite figured out.
Yeah.
And I definitely didn't have a social platform at the time. Like my Instagram was on private.
Sure.
I feel like YouTube was like fine. Like I was not doing a ton of stuff. I was just making my own things at this time, but nothing was getting a lot of views. And I was still auditioning traditionally. And I started like sort of that smoke and mirrors. Like he taught me how to, the first thing I posted was like me with a mineral sunblock. I wasn't getting paid for it. They were not working with me. They didn't even know who I was. But I posted it as if they had like sent me the product. And I was doing all these posts, and all of a sudden they reached out to me and they're like, hey, we can pay you $500 and can you do a post? I was like, oh my God, did I just get my first campaign? You know, then I went from like 300 followers on Instagram. I took it off private. Then it just started like growing. I remember being at like 10,000 within the first year using like hashtags. And
were you doing the mom space stuff yet? Or was this just kind of doing some sort of comedy?
Just some like beauty. It started, I didn't know what my lane was yet. And so, and then I actually started putting together these like social media get-togethers at Soho House. I made them put it on their schedule. I was like, let me get the creators of Awesomeness. They had one like section. Awesomeness was like this amazing YouTube.
Yeah, I remember Awesome as well.
And so they had Awestruck, which was just for millennial moms. And I brought the founders of that. And I brought this woman, Catherine, who founded Welicious. Like all these like moms that were making waves on YouTube and on Instagram. And we all came together for like a monthly like picking their brains. And I made myself the moderator and host.
Okay.
And from there, I started learning and growing. And it was over like a 1.5 year period. I started getting sponsors, and then I got an agent. And all of a sudden, I was running a business.
But so it was a slow build, because I feel like a lot of people today, they're trying to make that one reel to go viral, to sort of get all of this stuff going. But when in actuality,
strategy.
To build your brand, like that entrepreneurship, you had to slowly build that brand of yours.
I was like, I need to build my platform out, and then I also need to build content. Like I need a blog, and I need that blog to have good content, and I need to like have brands start paying me to post. So I started like taking all these pieces, and I was like, and now I need good content. So at the time, that's where the new mom stuff started. My friend was at Whale Rock, and she's like, Sam, you know, we have a brand, Mom.me. It's for millennial moms. We want to compete with like Awestruck. And there was another group called What's Up Moms that were like killing it on YouTube. And they're like, can you pitch us some shows? And I was like, yeah, I actually have a bunch of ideas for like scripted mom series. Let's meet for coffee. And the night before that, I'd been out with my friend, Haley White, who's a comedy writer. We hadn't seen each other in years since becoming moms. And we were on Abbott Kinney, and we were like bonding over the fact that we were moms that like to have fun too. Like we didn't know each other that well. And I was like, wait, you smoke weed too? She's like, oh my God.
Moms who like to have fun. I think Matt.
And we started like bonding over this.
Website.
What, moms that like to have fun?
I don't know. That sounds like a different kind of website.
Moms that like to have fun.
In this day and age, it's impossible to be a good mom. Screw it. Let's be bad moms.
I'm in. To bad mom!
Oh my God. Somebody move my stool.
What I love about this and where it's kind of going is like it's like it's you. Like you wanted to break out of that box. They had you as the scream queen, right? And all we want to do as artists is like do our thing. But in order to do that, they're not going to let us do it. We've got to do it for ourselves. And the funniest shit is actually the personal. Like the most personal shit was the funniest stuff.
You couldn't make this shit up. I was like, when I was sitting with Haley, this is how it started. We started kind of like riffing, and we were like a drink in at the other room on Abbott Kinney. I don't even know if it's still there. And I was like, she's like, Sam, no one told me any of this shit about new motherhood. I was like, dude, I was like pumping outside a Soho house and this hot guy came running by and like backed up and thought like all these stories. And I was like, oh, and I was at a music.
Wasn't me.
It wasn't I promise. We were like started trading these like kind of like war stories of new motherhood. And she's like, it's like shit no one told you.
Yeah.
And mind you, I had this pitch the next day, right? And Haley and I had no business plan. We were not partners. Nothing was going on. We just had met up for drinks.
Right.
And I was like, shit, no one told you. That could be a show. It's like evergreen.
Yeah.
And then that was it. We left. And I go to my meeting the next day and I'm pitching all these executives from Whale Rock to try to get a show.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling it. It's cold in that room. I'm like, how about this? How about this? And I'm like excited and I could see them like kind of bored. And one of the women was like, I think we got to wrap this up. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to Hail Mary.
Yeah.
I was like, shit, no one told you. And I see them like perk up.
Yeah.
And they all look up. They're all like so bored and they look up from coffee. They're like, do tell us some more.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, Haley and I had nothing.
Right.
This is like a conversation drunk the night before. I was like, it's evergreen. Every episode is something no one told us about motherhood. It's real stories from the trenches.
Yeah.
They're like, we love it. We're going to buy it. So I call Haley and I was like, I think I sold our show. She's like, what show?
Yeah, what show?
And that's where Don't Call Me Mommy was birthed. We sold 6 episodes. They gave us like a huge budget. Mind you, we didn't know how to budget at the time.
Sure.
I think I Venmo'd her $40 at the end. I was like, did we spend all the money that they gave us?
Yeah.
But we made a beautiful show.
How long were the episodes?
They were 5 minutes, 6 episodes. And we ended up selling a second season to them where we did make money.
Yeah.
And then years later, we got the rights to sell it to a brand.
Yeah.
So we did another 6 episodes for a great budget for a brand. So now it's like we own this name and we're able to license it.
What year was this? Do you remember when you did this?
So Whale Rock would have been 2016.
Okay.
And then 2018. And then just in 2022, we did another 6-part series for By Heart, which is a formula company. And it was, I think it's some of like my favorite stuff that I've done because it's like real stuff that no one wanted to talk about.
Yeah, in 08, 09, one of the first things I created was this web series, and we sold it to Babblegum, and it was called Real Men, Real Issues.
Oh my God.
And it was sort of in that same vein of like, 30-somethings
Yeah.
and single, what we're trying to get to, and like the odd sort of men's Sex in the City type of thing.
Yeah.
But it was that reality of the insecurities.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments, Haley and I went to speak at a conference. I call it the Super Bowl for mom creators. It's called Mom 2. And it brings like hundreds of women together who are bloggers.
Maybe when the 49ers don't go to the Super Bowl this year, we'll go to that.
Mom 2 guys. We spoke about creating content. And at the end, we had a lineup of women who had seen our series. And all of them were like, thank you for talking about these things in a real way that made us laugh. Because our best viewed episode is called Sex After Baby. And I remember while we were shooting it, Haley's like, and I directed that episode.
We would
switch
you now
off.
have 3 kids.
I mean,
Yeah.
she's like, does it look like we're shooting like a low budget porn? And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, kind of.
Right.
But I didn't want to make her insecure because she was like the lead in it and I was directing. I was like, no, Haley, it's great. Keep it going. And it was our best viewed. I think it got like 20 million views.
Were you guys playing yourselves or characters?
Characters. Yeah, but all based on our lives.
And you were shooting it, you were doing the whole thing.
Yeah, we like switched off directing. I'd never directed. We wrote them together. I produced them. She directed most of them, but I would direct the episode she was in.
Yeah.
We had a full crew and we went union. Like it was like a it was really fun.
How many followers do you have across these various platforms?
So now my Instagram's grown. Like it's been a slow burn because I started it at a time when you could still grow a lot.
Yeah.
And now I think it's a lot harder to grow. I have like 220,000 followers on Instagram.
I'm kidding.
That's it,
That's
guys.
great.
I know.
It's amazing.
I'm
That's
still
amazing.
micro. I'm still micro.
Matt's jealous. He's like, how do we do that?
But based off what you were talking before, you guys are playing characters. What you've now, you transitioned, listen to this segue, is a lot of your platform now, you use your own life as inspiration for content.
Yes.
And so you're playing yourself, and it's really funny. It's really smart. I've watched a bunch of them. They're great. But was there any reservations in being so honest? Like, I know real life is the funniest thing, but like that lifestyle space, I'm going to be me.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, especially going through like some personal stuff. I had my 3rd child via surrogate and I went through IVF with her. And with my first 2 kids, it was like old fashioned way, my ex looked at me and I was pregnant and like, that was it. Yeah. But with my daughter, it was a much more painful private journey. And when I was selling this Shit No One Told You series 3 to By Heart, they wanted one episode to be about what families look like in 2022, and one was featuring how babies can come into the world in different ways. I was like, you know what? I'm going to use my real life. And, you know, stuff in my marriage was already kind of like unraveling. And I like very gently used a real situation. It's one of my favorite scenes.
Okay.
And it's me talking to, it's a real moment that had happened where I was like, my daughter was 2 weeks old and I was in like bike shorts and a crop top. To any mom that's like, fuck you. Because you're supposed to look like you're still pregnant after you have a baby. But I was like, I hadn't been pregnant. And so I'm like, we're in workout clothes, and I see another new mom who did just carry a baby, and her daughter was also 2 weeks, and she's like, oh my God, how old is she? And I was like, 2 weeks. And she looked at me and she was like, what? Yeah. And then I was like, but I didn't carry her, and I'd never met her. And then I felt the need to explain like my whole life story and my husband's sperm. And all of a sudden I'm like, you know, and she's like, thank you. Good to meet you. So I wrote that scene for this episode. And that episode was one of our best viewed episodes because it was real. Yeah. And the girl we cast, and I played me. Yeah. And the girl we cast, I mean, she nailed it. And maybe we'll play a clip of it, but it was like such a real moment of awkward motherhood. But it was based on like
she's
real
figured this
stuff.
out. She just said cut to the clip.
She did. She picks up on this very quickly.
My egg, his sperm, not my oven. Thank you for sharing that. We have to go now. It's nap time.
And then going through, you know, a divorce, I'm very private about certain aspects, but I did share kind of in real time, again, with my community, like through a comedic lens, my like life changes and like all these things.
I mean, that's like one of the things if you're trying to act is you get to play other characters, right? The goal is that you're not necessarily going to put yourself out there like that. But somebody gave me the advice when I first got started that every story's been told, but not your story, right? So it's the one thing you can control if you want to be able to create content and if you want to have intellectual property. Your life is actually your intellectual property if you're willing to go there. I mean, I've done a lot of that too. A lot of what I've done has been some, you know, what I call semi-autobiographical fiction. That's basically most of the pilots I sold have been some version of, you know, a dipshit guy trying to make it in the world.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I always say I do like clean comedy, so I don't make fun of anyone. I make fun of myself. And no one can really see themselves in my stuff, but they're there, but they can't really. I've changed just enough so that I'm still, you might see me, but no one else will see themselves.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Smart.
It's like the
protect the innocent, the not so innocent, but protect yourself from getting sued, maybe.
Well, it's that fine line because I know you had produced a podcast, and like us starting this podcast, like I was an actor, I'm a writer, director as well, but like this has become this weird platform where when we're the most personal about ourselves, I think that's like the goal.
Yeah.
The gold, because
it's like you remember when Parasite won for the Best Picture a couple of years ago, and that's essentially what he says. The most personal is the most universal.
When I was young and studying cinema, there was a saying that I carved deep into my heart, which is the most personal is the most creative.
That quote was from our great Martin Scorsese. So,
but yeah, it's like that fine line where the content itself, like we could talk about the Giants, the Warriors, the 49ers, that's fine. But when we get into our shit, and also we're playing that fine line, like how much do we want to admit? It's this weird platform where people can know about you. People know what's going on in my life because of this, our platforms. But that's what's, ultimately we're selling ourselves.
Well, another, like, talk about embarrassing stuff. I had a column in Bustle called Everything's Embarrassing. And literally Haley and I, my comedy partner, traded off on our most embarrassing moments. Like mine was about how I had an unmedicated birth with my second kid and like was like yelling profanities at my doctor and felt like I was going through like
That's
like,
great.
I mean, and hers was, I mean, we had the craziest stories and we actually turned it into a podcast. We got the rights and it's called Everything's Awkward. And it was like real, like think about the most, oh my God, I want to die embarrassing stories, but they were so relatable. And it was, again, one of my favorite things to share, even though I remember at the time, I'm like, can I share these things? Like, this is so awkward and embarrassing.
Yeah.
Your true crime podcast, that must have been fun because you weren't talking about yourself.
You know, it's funny. I was actually listening to Crime Junkies on the way here on 1.5 times speed so I can get through the episode. My manager obviously knew I only did comedy, but he represented like these guys that did all the ID Network and true crime stuff. And during the pandemic, they were looking for a female producer and host because they had this guy who was like the real mind hunter. He talked to over like 200 serial killers in prison, and he wanted to do a show that profiled serial killers where you would like, the show was pitched as this. We're going to talk to them from prisons, to talk to actual like Son of Sam like these serial killers then have an expert, our guy Phil, and then we wanted they wanted a female voice who would be like representing the victims and like just being a female voice on the show.
Sure.
And so my manager was like, hey, I know you like love true crime. I know you don't have any background in this, but would you meet with them?
Yeah.
I ended up recording in my basement because it was 2020. It was like after March of 2020.
Right.
And we solved a murder in episode 3.
Shut up.
I'm not even kidding. We solved a 20-year cold case. And so our show shot to like top 5 and we went on Access. It was like a whole thing.
Wow.
We did season 2, but it was such an expensive production.
Yeah.
That we never continued on, and we'll see if it ever gets picked up as a.
But you have that thing, like I solved a cold case through my podcast.
Yeah.
Is that's what you can leverage into something else? Do we need to? I think we need to do something for Beat LA to
commit a crime and then solve it.
And then solve it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Guys, telling you, got to go and Access Hollywood.
But you have the idea for the future script of this about the woman who starts a podcast.
I actually have a scripted comedy based on
this thing because it's very interesting. Now you solve a crime and
Well, it's based on actually. I actually never told you this story. No. This is a great story, guys.
Okay.
So, have you heard of the brand FabFitFun?
No.
Okay, they're like a women's beauty company. They did like these subscription boxes.
Nick has though. You've heard of
FabFitFun.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I sold a series to them, and we were shooting. We did like over 20 episodes for them. It was so much fun over like 2 years, and I had a crew at my house for 2 days, and we actually wrapped early, which never happens.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, oh my God, we have a full crew. They're paid for. Why don't we just like shoot, like we were done. We had finished everything. The FabFitFun team had gone home. Yeah. And I was like, Haley, let's just shoot some like fun stuff. I have a dance sketch in my head. Let's just do like a dance sketch. And I just moved to my new house in Brentwood. It felt very grown up. I'd been living in Venice and I didn't know any of my neighbors yet. And so I'm on the street. We called like 3 of our like favorite improv guys to come, and we had this crew and we were shooting. So it was like 2 cameras. You have to picture this: 2 cameras, and then a girl with like a phone doing like Instagram stuff.
Sure.
So we have 3 cameras facing this direction. Haley's getting like booty slapped in the middle of my street. We're doing like all these dance moves, and all of a sudden, and we have 3 cameras. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we have 3. It's like kind of 4 o'clock. We're gonna lose light soon. I remember it was February, so like we had another hour or something of light. Cops and one of my neighbors come running up to me and they're like, how long have you been shooting on the street? And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting kicked out of the neighborhood. Yeah. Brentwood doesn't want me here anymore. Yeah. I'm too weird.
Right.
I've ruined my reputation in Brentwood. And my neighbor's like, we were robbed over the last hour, and like there was a whole crime that went on. Did you see anything? And we're like, no. And I was like, wait, we've had 3 cameras facing your house for the last hour. And I'm telling you, the burglars are probably like, these idiots are like shimmying and booty slapping. Like they have no idea.
Right.
I kid you not. When LAPD, they came into my house. First of all, I made them wait. I was like, no, we only have 30 minutes left of light. Are you guys okay waiting? And full producer mode. And I remember Haley was like, oh my God,
sure.
okay.
Yeah.
LAPD comes in and they go through our footage. And we have like in between booty slaps, you have like a license plate. You have a guy in a getaway car. You have a guy getting into the house, leaving the house. We solved and got into one of the biggest West Side burglary rings and solved a crime shooting mom content. So of course, this was low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
I was like, Haley, do we go on like, I had a friend at the time that was like worked at CNN and she's like, you guys should go on and talk about being 2 mom influencers who like solved a burglary.
Yeah.
And Haley's like, it's a terrible idea. They know where you live. They're going to come kill you.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it. No. This would have been our moment. But I was like, this could be a show.
Yeah.
So without saying more, we definitely have an idea of like 2 wannabe mom bloggers who solve a murder
so
and
great.
get involved.
That's
Anyways,
so
but it's based on real stuff.
That's great.
So inspiring, so entrepreneurial.
But I mean, the fact that we solved a burglary through our ridiculous footage.
No, and if you wrote that and I read that, I'm like, you're kind of jumping the but it really happened. That really happened.
So did guys go to jail?
I have no idea. I didn't want to follow up because I was like, I'm just going to give you the footage and step away slowly. But the LAPD, I'll never forget, he was watching the footage. He was like this older cop and he was like, wow, let's just fast forward through that. Like, you had to keep watching.
And the neighbors were so excited that you had, helped them out, and now you're and then you were the head of the Brentwood Homeowners Association for a while.
There we go,
because of that. Yeah.
If only you'd been doing
so
this
well liked
when,
now.
In '94 when OJ.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, that's what we should solve.
We could have had footage on
really
OJ.
Happened.
I mean,
we got to get to chat here in a little bit, but we have a few more questions. I just want to ask you. I'm sure you get this all the time. We're starting to get this because oh my God, you guys started a podcast and it seems to be doing well. How do I do my own thing? And a lot of people have great ideas.
Yeah.
But, I think execution is what separates people. Like people that want to get into the space that you're kind of in and sort of that comedy lifestyle thing that's working well. Like what advice do you have to someone who's trying to kind of do what you've done?
My favorite advice I love to give, and I think it's more difficult if you're someone that isn't as comfortable with the word no. But for me, no always meant like not right now. And so one of my favorite tips I used to give when speaking specifically about like social media and pitching was, say there was a brand I wanted to work with. Let's say I'm like, you know what, Target, I really want to do an ad for Target. I'm going to DM them. This is what I would do. I would DM them and be like, who's the right person I need to talk to? I would get the person's name, and then I would email them, and I'd do a pitch. And here's my thing. I wouldn't just say, hey, let's do a collaboration. I would come with something super specific. Hey, I have an idea for something. Here's how I would execute it. Let's set up a call. And how many times did I get on that call and they're like, you know what? No. I didn't see that as a no. I saw that as like, not right now. So I'd wait 5 months. I had some new stuff to show them. I would follow up. Let's set another call. And that's, by the way, how I ended up getting a column at Parents, how I ended up working with FabFitFun. A lot of my clients, I felt like if you take no, and I think in entertainment, it is sometimes not right now. It's like maybe the timing was wrong. Maybe you just need a few more things under your belt. So whether it's a podcast, a show you're pitching, a little like web series, whatever it is, I think if you can have that mentality of, okay, I just reached out for help, or I just, reached out to pitch something, and this person I really wanted to work with said no. I think if you can see it as not right now, and you have the ability to continue following up, borders on creepy, so you have to find that middle. I would do a gentle follow-up, and then I would do a gentle follow-up, and I would find that persistence with the right additions that you can add. Like, hey, by the way, we just had this many views on our last thing. Add something new to your follow-up. I feel like that ends up getting a yes down the road.
Good concrete advice.
If you take no as no, you literally will never work in entertainment, because I feel like you always start with no's.
Well, and there's so many gatekeepers too, right? And now because of modern technology and other things, we actually can go directly to an audience too. So I have a question. Maybe we want to make sure our guests get to say what they want to say. Is there anything you want to talk about right now? Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to put out in the world to the Beat LA audience?
So, yeah, I mean, I'd love you guys to come hang out in my community on Instagram at Gutstadt and on TikTok. I feel like TikTok, I have like the weirder stuff. That's where I feel like I have more creative freedom. So if you want to like have some fun, come join me on TikTok. Instagram, I'm still putting out a ton of original content there. I have a blog, it's Sam So Much, where I share a lot of like fashion, lifestyle, travel. And, one of the things I'm putting out there, and we'll see what happens, is I'd love to start creating some content in the nonprofit space. So we'll see where that takes me. I love storytelling and writing, and if I could do that in the nonprofit space, we'll
use your platform for good.
What's the Instagram handle where people can see this great content though?
It's just my name. So TikTok and Instagram, it's Gutstadt, Gutstadt. Don't ask me why I never changed it, but now I'm stuck with it.
But I love that you go one name like a soccer star in the World Cup. That's
it's
wonderful.
Like Madonna.
Samantha, thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
You're good at this. Maybe you've been in front of the camera before and made your own content. Anyway, thanks for coming.
Thanks, guys. This is fun.
All right, welcome back to the Beat LA podcast. Great interview with Samantha. I know I learned a lot, and I'm going to kick it to you. What did you learn about that interview, Paul?
Well, I learned that we should have more followers, Matt.
Yeah, we should.
That's the main thing I learned. I like 250,000 followers. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I learned a lot. I mean, definitely how that sort of entrepreneurship sort of methods that she has to build that brand, using the DMs, being specific with your content, being personal, really outstanding and really smart.
I know that Nick is looking forward to finding some of these clips, particularly the booty slapping clips.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Sam's great.
Sam's great.
Don't play her tennis. She'll
kick your fucking ass. And she did. She kicked your ass.
Well, she was pregnant.
Yeah, I know. No, she was great.
Like Avatar 2. I think one of the characters in Avatar 2 was pregnant. And James Cameron was like, women can do anything, even when pregnant.
I love that. You always want to slip in an Avatar 2 clip in there.
I do.
Yeah.
It's the most popular movie of all time.
Yeah.
That way we can hashtag it.
Yeah.
Sam Gutstadt would tell us to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And definitely, folks, check out her Instagram. Follow her. A lot of really funny, relatable stuff.
Kristen, my wife, might actually listen to this podcast. She might actually listen to the interview because that was kind of, like female centric. We had a little more.
But also, as men, you got
a little more estrogen in this one.
Yeah,
Matt.
I mean, man, listen. If you want to understand women in a more accessible, comedic way, follow her account.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Know the opposition. Not that they're the opposition, but Matt, like you're out there dating stuff. Like it's good for you to understand the way the other side thinks.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely
Could
right.
be your secret weapon.
Exactly. Folks, this is the Beat LA podcast. We are sponsored by Pet Pro Supply Co. If you need anything for your cats, dogs, squirrels, chimpanzees, snakes in the bathtub, and or your ant farm, go to Pet Pro Supply Co. They have everything you need for your pets, and they're a great sponsor of this show. That leads us into Pet Peeves, our segment here always on the Beat LA podcast. Paul, I'm just curious, every week, do you have a pet peeve or a pet pleasure this week?
I was really prepared for this one.
Okay.
I got a couple. I'm going to rapid fire this.
Yeah.
Okay. Pet pleasure.
Yep.
I'm glad to see a long snapper get punched. I thought that was great. Another pet pleasure, Buster Posey of the San Francisco Giants, president of baseball operations, came out this week in the defense of the RBI, saying that guys with a lower OPS and a high, but who are clutch hitters, he's worried that in baseball they're not going to do, like these guys want to get paid, so they're not. And he's like, we need guys who perform in the clutch, and we're going to value RBIs more than they've been valued. So I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Another pet peeve: why are all the good baseball players now Japanese? I love Japan. It's my favorite country in the world. But you hear about this Sasaki guy?
Yeah, Rocky.
He's 23.
Rocky.
And he's coming over. He's now the best pitcher in the world. Like, what's going on? When did America not be able to make baseball players? What the hell's happening?
Man, this sounds a little red, if you know what I'm saying right now.
We managed to not talk about the election.
Yeah, and we're not. But I'm just saying, no, I mean, I think over in Japan, it's kind of exciting. I don't know if they have the best players, but...
Remember Major League Two? They brought a Japanese player from Major League Two? Yeah. He wasn't the best player on the team.
Yes, sir!
I just think we got to focus more on baseball again in this country. You know me, I love baseball.
Hey, listen, like a lot of the best, infielders and shortstops were coming out of the Dominican Republic for years. It's clearly a global game, baseball.
That's true. Anyway, this is not a xenophobic comment. It's just Japan. There's something happening over there. Because I don't know if it was the Fukushima thing where they had like the nuclear thing and they got into their body like Spider-Man and then suddenly they're superpowered now. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I'll say this, in Japan, they actually still play real baseball.
They do.
And what
Fundamentals.
Fundamentals, man. I was watching a clip on Instagram and there's a great documentary on ESPN about the high school baseball tournament that they have from all the provinces. It's a huge thing. It's like the March Madness. And there's a lot of bunting. There's a lot of moving of the runners. There's a lot of fundamentals. There's a lot of hit and runs. And I think that also creates a better, smarter baseball player. The way they play in Japan. It's not about the home runs and the 100-mile-an-hour, fastball.
I love it. We got to get over there.
They play baseball, man. Right. I just have one quick pet peeve, and it's something that I brought up in episode 8 when this was an early podcast.
I love that you know the actual number of the episode.
I said this last year, and I begged the NBA, just please, during jump balls, stop playing the crisscross song Jump.
Right.
And they're still doing it. I don't know. Like, dude, you guys, it's so fucking dated and whack. Like, Jump, it's just so dumb. I need to start an online campaign.
Okay.
And crisscross should be involved in that. Like, stop the hate, stop the jump ball.
I feel like Samantha Gutstadt would tell us, why don't you guys make a viral video about this? Maybe we record our own song that they could start using. For jump balls.
For jump balls. There you go. Paul, we're getting to a segment that a lot of people love. It's called The Best Things We Saw. Paul, best things, worst things? Did you see anything?
I want you to start with this, Matt.
I wanted you to start.
Oh, you do? Okay, I can start.
Can you start this week? Go.
Okay, so you're going to tell me again that I'm kind of late on this one.
That's okay.
But Chris and I are watching Palm Royale on Apple Plus.
Okay.
Next week, I like to talk about my travels. Next week, we are going to Palm Beach to visit superfan Brian Ofria. So we wanted to prep.
Yeah.
And my genre is rich people behaving badly, and this show does a good job of that.
Liked it.
It's Kristen Wiig, post lots of surgery. She looks great.
Yeah, it's on Apple TV.
Yeah, and Carol Burnett. Remember we talked about whether we would hook up with Carol Burnett, even though she's 90 at the Emmys last year?
Oh, we did, huh?
We did talk about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a fun show. Ricky Martin's in it. It's a fun show.
Interesting. I think they got a season 2.
Okay. I'm looking for my Succession fixes wherever I can get it. It's not Succession. It's a little campy, but it's fun.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't watch that because it just looked too colorful and campy to me.
Yeah.
And it just didn't seem like my cup of tea, personally.
Well, this is what happens, Matt, when you let your wife pick the show.
Interesting. But you came on board. You're actually into it.
I like it. Yeah,
Wow.
we're digging it. There's
Okay.
a lot of martinis in it. There's a lot of fun, like, big houses and rich people doing dumb stuff. So, yeah, it's okay. It's
Got
good.
it.
I would recommend it.
Paul, this week, I didn't see anything that I have already talked about. Literally, the cupboard is bare. The gun has no bullets in it.
Wow.
Nothing.
What was going on with you this week, man? You okay?
I'm fine.
You okay?
But here's the problem. I recommend shows, and then I stick with those shows.
I know you got therapy at 1 o'clock, so
Yeah.
you got to get out of here.
Thanks, Paul.
It came up on your reminders when I was sitting next to you during our thing. It's good, Matt. We're good next week. Don't forget, we got a guest coming next week.
Listen, people don't know if that's physical therapy or mental therapy.
It could be both.
It could be both. But I will say this. I'll just quickly talk about a couple of things that I already recommended, but I finished Disclaimer.
Okay.
I hate watched it to the end, but the final episode is pretty fucking shocking.
Okay.
It's only 7 episodes. That's okay. The Penguin ended with a bang. I love that. And I saw Honora for a second time with a friend, and it was better the second time.
Wow. Was it better than Conclave? I know you love Conclave.
2 different movies. Conclave's going to be right up your alley, Paul, because if you're looking for if you want your Succession fix,
okay,
oddly, Conclave is it. That's it. That's it for you.
We were bantering about this yesterday, Matt, while watching the football game. So my last pet peeve, this celebrity voiceover thing I talked about last week. Brian Cox, who plays Logan Roy, is the voice of McDonald's.
Yeah.
That pisses me off.
I love it.
I know you love it. You defended that. I don't understand it.
I love it because I get a Brian Cox fix. He's ostensibly playing Logan Roy in these commercials.
Yes, but it makes me feel like Logan Roy's down on his luck and he has to work as a voiceover guy for McDonald's.
No, but he's staying active. The guy's 90 years old. How old is he?
He's making some dough.
He's making some dough.
I'm just jealous. I want a voiceover job.
Yeah.
You don't have to leave your house. You can record it from in your pajamas.
Yeah, that's what I did for that movie. I still can't talk about.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Beat LA podcast. Did you have any shout outs before we get out of here?
No, I don't. It's funny. I was going to shout out Buster Posey for the RBI thing, and then it got conflated into the pet peeves thing. So I already used my shout out.
Gotcha.
How about you?
Shout out. I feel like shout outless recently, but I'm just going to shout out everybody in the world for listening to this podcast. All right. We hope you enjoyed this version. I hope it got you through the treadmill. I hope it got you from point A to Z in the car. And we will be back next week with another Slam Bam episode of the Beat LA podcast.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Beat LA.